Hey, we're going live with another broadcast of Sports Talk with Attitude. This is a special edition, special holiday edition with straight out of DC. And my man, the book is always open. Booker.
Yes, indeed. The book is open today.
This broadcast is brought to you today by Curt Inc., a technology company specializing in computer service repair, cell phone screen repair, network support for small to medium-sized businesses. I'm broadcasting live to you out of Cleveland, Ohio, even though we're representing this Pittsburgh Steelers always and forever. Chateau Hobson. We'd like to welcome everybody here. And what's up, fellas?
What's up? What's up?
What a weekend it's been.
Green.
Yes, indeed. We're up here in Cleveland, man, enjoying the weather, enjoying family and cooking out and ATVing and all the above and all the below.
Hey, what do they cook up there in Cleveland if you're not down in Georgia getting you some waffles? What do they cook up there?
Pork.
Okay. Thank you.
Ribs, pork sausage, pork bacon.
Okay.
Pork steak.
Dang.
Pork vegetables.
I thought, you better get home and get some food, man.
Pork and beans.
I knew they didn't have any of that catfish that they normally serve up down there in Georgia around this time.
Yeah, we ain't having catfish, but we had some sway yesterday and some flounder. Just some what are the things called, lobster tails on the grill.
So while you're up there in Cleveland, did they take down LeBron's poster and put Kevin Love up or something?
They used that for firewood.
Yeah, dang. That's a little rough, man. You better get out of there before the Indians start. I think it's the Cleveland Indians start firing it down, firing it away.
Hey, they're having some hope for them. What they call the Browns, Cleveland Browns. I guess there's some hope for that this season.
Well, before we get started, the Pittsburgh owns them in baseball, so the Bucks and the Indians is a thing. And, you might want to just go stop by with your Steeler gear on since you're representing today.
I don't mind doing that. I sure don't mind doing that.
But what about those Atlanta Hawks? I thought that I thought you had it. Was it
today on the Sports Talk, we're going to talk about the book is open.
Yes, indeed.
He was correct. He says 6 games, Hawks win 2. Right on point. I was hoping for better, but they did great. So
they did great.
So now who do we have? Milwaukee
and Phoenix.
And we have Phoenix.
Tomorrow night at 9.
And that's too much for Lonnie. Lonnie said basketball, he's just tired of it.
I am tired of these games, and it's a lot.
But Lonnie, you haven't given me any reason for that. How are you burned out of the NBA when?
All right.
Explain to me. Because go for it.
What? No, ask your question.
So my question is, are you honestly telling me that there is a large contingent, large group of people, large masses of people in the United States that's watching the Tour de France?
I'm glad you asked, but here's what I wore my gear.
Don't say today. But now. Don't say but. Just answer the question.
We will get to the NBA, but for today, I got my Wichita Shockers hat on. I'm ready for a little bit of college basketball to kick in. I threw my
college basketball. College basketball won't even start until the fall. It ain't even. I'm just trying to get you to explain to me if you think that there is a large contingent, a large population of the United States sports fans that are watching the Tour de France.
Population-wise, all right, so fine.
But that didn't give me an answer. The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, I do. Yes, okay. I do.
So tell me what you think those numbers look like.
I think they're I think they're above soccer, but it's not NFL and
what?
It's not NBA.
You think that there are more people watching the Tour de France in America than soccer? Brother, come on. Right there where you live at, there's a big old soccer club right there in Washington, D.C. They probably got more people watching that team than the Tour de France.
All right, here's my political statement. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but get with the program, okay? This is right. So I got a magazine out. I don't know if you can see the brother, but this is, and I'll read the title, and then we'll let you go with your NBA. Black people on bikes. Okay, this is the George Floyd Cycling Club out in where is that at? Minnesota? In Minnesota, they're biking around the city from Minnesota. So I just wanted to introduce that concept as a sport. I mean, it finally, so the Tour de France is on. It's on, and it's a global thing.
So what time does it come on in America?
7 a.m.
And how many people in America do you think are watching the Tour de France? Was the question. I've not gotten an answer to the question. We get sidetracked so easily. We want to put up pictures and show me brothers and show me George Floyd and all that mess. That's good, but that don't answer the question.
The question is, I'm ready for some college basketball. You and your NBA, and you really got no superstars playing no more. Everyone got knee injury. Tell him, Curt. Playing a loss over injury.
Straight out of DC, I'd love to defend you on this, but the book is open. He has a question.
And even with everything that has been said, my brother still won't answer my question.
I stay on
let's move on to the NBA then. If we're gonna move, let's go. Because
no, Ralph. Since we're gonna get to your. So what are you not following the Wimbledon tournament with the young?
Yes, I follow.
Knocking it out the park?
I follow Wimbledon. I keep up with that. I keep up with golf. I keep up with all the. I even keep up with the leaders. I check the leaders for the Tour de France. But the question was, you're telling me that there are more people watching the Tour de France in America than that watch soccer. That's what you said.
Let's just do this.
We're not gonna address the question. We're gonna change the subject. Go for
it. Here you go. Let me pray for you. Did you see that? That swimmer, I think she's from UCLA.
Georgia. The sister? Yeah. She went to the University of Georgia. See, I keep up with the Olympics and all this stuff. So, but you won't go back to the question originally. You want to change the subject. Because you like the Tour de France. I'm good with that, Lonnie. I'm good with the Tour de France. I'm good with cycling. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But you just can't make a statement to the people and then want the people to buy into it if you don't support it with something. That's all I'm saying.
Here's my
support is you telling me that there are more people to watch the Tour de France in America than that watch soccer.
All right, here's where he needs.
About there more people watching Tour de France.
Come on.
Hey, Pilgrim, let me just cross over for 1 second and get him back on track. Apparently, the poker tournament's schedule is out. And it seems as if he's a little bit of a gambler, so he may want to jump on one of these poker tournament ideas because he's already picked his team. It keeps changing a little bit. I picked my team. I'm done. He's a fair weather.
From day one, I was a Laker fan. I've been a Laker fan. I was a Laker fan. I can name players on the Lakers that you won't even remember.
I feel like I'm in church.
No, when you start telling me who I'm not a fan of, I told you straight out, Curtis. Have I not been Lakers from day one?
Ever since I've known you.
All right. So put your cards on the table. Go to your NBA. Let's hear this. I'm ready.
Well, I thought it was a discussion, but if you ain't paying attention, it's hard to discuss it.
I would like to say I'd like to thank everybody who's following this broadcast, and you can watch this broadcast and hear this broadcast on all your podcast platforms. We want to thank you for joining in to listen to us here on Sports Talk with Attitude. Right now, we're going around with some Tour de France. The book is open and straight out of DC. We're trying to figure out, do you watch Tour de France or do you watch any of the football? And football as in soccer. Which one would you prefer to watch? Mm-hmm. Put your comments down below. Oh, I lost some words there, so you guys.
No, you did good. So we want to talk NBA, we can. We don't have to. The reason that I want to talk NBA because that's the championship that's at hand. If baseball, if this is during the World Series time, I'd be wanting to talk about the World Series also.
Well, I do want to mention that my heart is a little bit broken over the Hawks losing. I think they did great this season.
They had a great season.
I'm all everything Pittsburgh, but I was pulling for the Hawks. So they lost out. I think they did great. They made it pretty far. They made it really far.
Much further than anybody expected.
I hate that I missed a game because I can't add too much to this broadcast today. But I hate to. Did anybody get a chance to see it?
Yes.
Play the Trae play.
Yes, he did. The issue with Trae was that he was hobbling. You could tell, obviously, that he was still hobbling on that ankle. He only shot 4 for 21. He was 0 for 3, 0 for 17 or something like that from three-point range. He didn't make no threes.
No threes. Wow.
Yeah.
What was the final score?
The final score was 11 point. I think it was like an 11-point game.
118, 107, something like that.
How did Collins do?
Collins did okay, but the whole team was a little off, Curtis. Milwaukee came out with a lot of energy, and the whole team was just a little off. And a lot of that stemmed from the fact that Trae wasn't his full self. You know, he wasn't getting into the lane, throwing those lob passes like he normally does.
Right.
Things that kind of hobbled him because when you got a bad wheel, it's hard to push off. And you can't get your legs under you good enough to shoot your jumper like you need to. So that was the biggest thing.
Wow. How did Lopez do?
Lopez did pretty doggone good. He played tough in the middle, got some lobs. Again, the guy that really hurt him was Drew Holiday because he was able to get in. He was able to get into the paint. He played really well.
MVP.
Yeah. So it turned out for him and for the Hawks. It was just one of those seasons where the Hawks needed their number one guy to be healthy, and he just wasn't healthy.
He just wasn't healthy. So he had a bad shoulder.
Bad ankle, basically.
I would say both, because he still had the tape on his shoulder, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't really hinder you. That's more of a kind of massaging it as the game is going on, but not being able to push off on both feet real solidly to hit that jump shot was really hurting.
Amazing. So where do we go from here? So we're looking at Milwaukee and we're looking at Phoenix.
Yes.
So
and if Giannis doesn't play, then I think it's Phoenix. I think Phoenix could possibly beat them with Giannis, but the difference is that Milwaukee is so much more experienced than the Phoenix Suns are. If they were both at full strength, I would probably give a little bit of a nod to Milwaukee, but I wouldn't be surprised if with Phoenix because of what Chris Paul brings to the table. I know Lonnie don't have any input because he hasn't been watching the game, so I can carry this whole segment if I need to. That's not an issue.
No, I just poke in there every now and then, and I would say that, you know, it's going to be a good series. I think that we're going to be glued at our TV at this point because, one, we're cheering for the underdog, and I call CP3 the underdog because we wanted him to, you know, get something out of the league other than being the National Basketball League Association president for the athletes. We want to get something out of the game. As far as Giannis goes, I mean, he's put in his work. I mean, year after year, he's been putting in the work. He's certainly a celebrated athlete with the trophies. And so I'm just looking forward to.
Both teams are underdogs, in my opinion. Milwaukee hadn't been there to the championship since 75 or whatever when Kareem was there. And of course, Phoenix has only been there a couple of times. The big shot by Gar Hurd back in, I think that was in the 80s. And then Charles Barkley took them to the finals against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. Mm-hmm. And they lost that series. So but they both are kind of underdogs. But you're right with Chris Paul, a lot of the things that he's done in and around the league. But he is a first ballot Hall of Famer without any question. You know, he's number 5 all time in assists in the history of the league. So he is a bit of an underdog in that he's played on different teams, but every team that he's played on, they got better when he got there. Every one of them.
So we're looking at this is going to be his first championship.
Yes. First time in the championship series.
First time in the championship series. As much as he contributed to the NBA, we're
Yes.
looking forward to that. I think he's really gonna shine this final series here, and I'm looking forward to family.
Yeah. Now I will say this:
We got
the issue will be is that Drew Holiday is as big. Well, he's actually bigger than Chris, but he's just as strong as Chris. So that's the matchup to watch, in my opinion, is Chris Paul and Drew Holiday, the 2 point guards, and what they can do with each other.
no, you still got, like I said, we got Booker. I'm looking forward to his performance.
Yes, no question about it. Now, again, keep in mind, Chris Paul has been in the league quite a few years too. So,
Yes.
and so has Drew Holiday. I was surprised when I looked it up. Drew Holiday has 13 or 14 years in the NBA. He's been around. So, I mean, this is his first shot at being in a championship too. So for both teams, there's only one player on both teams that's ever been to the championship series before. And that's the kid from Phoenix that played with the Lakers last year.
There's a technical part of the game that everyone's talking about right now, and that's the fact that Chris Paul does not turn the ball over, and so that's why they feel that Chris Paul is going to be the better athlete throughout this series, just because his assists are going to be there. He's not going to turn the ball over. What do you think about that, Ralph?
Well, the reason that I brought that up, and that's a good question, Lonnie, is because Drew Holiday is that type of athlete that is as strong as Chris is, a little bit bigger. And so you're right, Chris hasn't had turnovers, but the person that has been guarding him and playing defense against Chris, for the most part, hadn't had the strength either. So I don't expect him to have a lot of turnovers. I expect him to have a couple here and there. When you handle the ball that much, you're going to have some turnovers. But that is a very key piece, and he's a veteran. But the reason that I brought it up is because the guy that he's playing against is also a veteran. If he was like in his third or fourth year, talking about Drew Holiday, it'd be one thing. He's in his 12th or 13th year too. So they both are very wily veteran guys that know how to play the game. That's a matchup that I'm really looking forward to seeing, is how Drew Holiday and Chris Paul play against each other. It's going to be very, very big. Now, if Giannis doesn't play Phoenix by long stretch, they'll have the advantage if Giannis doesn't play. He's been giving you 28 and 12 and 7 throughout the playoffs. He's the first guy. Well, there's only been 3 guys to do that.
So Giannis didn't play?
No, he didn't play the last 2 games.
Whew. Wow.
And so he's got a lot of rest. They pulled it out. Not sure if he's going to be ready to play tomorrow night. They're thinking he may miss 1 or 2 games at the beginning of this series also. And they're playing in Phoenix the first 2 games. They're on the road.
So the question I have is the pace of the game, and to who has the advantage for the pace of the game and not so much the set offense. And would you run and how do you manage that part of the game? I think Phoenix has an up and down court flow that benefits them. And I'm not sure that, setting Giannis up all the time is going to be the way to win the game.
Well, the situation is that when you get to the playoffs in the NBA, there is no up and down game. You may have a breakout here or there, but the teams that run fast breaks all season long, they don't get those fast breaks in the playoffs because every possession is so important. More times than not, you have set plays on defense and offense. And so you may get some breakouts, a steal and somebody kick one out. But as far as really up and down fast break, you won't have a lot of that in the playoffs because the playoffs are not conducive for that, because the game slows down. Every possession is so important. The coaches take more control on, run this set play as you're coming down the floor. Coaches call more set plays in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. So that part of the game is going to be very similar to the rest of the series, because it is going to be a much slower pace in the playoffs. It just is. It had always been like that. This ain't new. It's always been like that in the NBA. When you get to the playoffs, it's a lot more slower than it is in the regular season.
Advantage Milwaukee.
Well, no, I wouldn't say necessarily. And the only reason I say that is because Milwaukee does have that kind of advantage in that regard. But what Phoenix brings to the table is this youth. They got young legs. All those guys, except for a couple of guys, they're really young. So they got energy. So Milwaukee has an advantage in terms of, yes, we play a little bit more of a set offense, but Phoenix has an advantage in terms of the youthfulness that they have and the energy that they play with. So that's why I say this series is going to be a really good series. I wish Giannis was completely healthy because it's going to be that kind of series. The two big men may balance each other off a little bit. The guy from Phoenix, man, that brother can play. He's young. And then, of course, Milwaukee, they got the older veteran, 7'1", that can shoot the jump shot from the three-point range. So this is going to be a very interesting series for both franchises that haven't won a championship ever. Well,
Hey,
Milwaukee did win one back with Kareem. I take that back.
So I got a quick history question. And would this be Monty's coaching staff and the more brilliant plays put together? But would this be Monty? Would this be the first minority African American coach to win a championship? I don't know the history on that.
Not even close. Not
Okay.
even close. Yeah, I mean, because you got Lenny Wilkins, you got Casey Jones from Boston that's won the championship. You got Doc Rivers for Boston. He won a championship. So there's been a number of black coaches to win NBA championship. So Monty Williams would not be the first. I mean, remember, he coached Chris Paul in his first few years when he was at New Orleans.
Right.
Right. So no, it wouldn't even be close to the first brother to win a championship.
Okay. We're back to how many games?
Well, right now, with Giannis being hurt, it's just hard to call. If he can't play, I'll go all the way Phoenix. If he can play, and he's hobbled, I still go Phoenix. If he were completely healthy, I would lean a little bit toward Milwaukee only because of experience. But right now, Phoenix has the energy. I will admit this, though. Generally in the NBA, before you win a championship, you got to take a few lumps. And Milwaukee has taken some lumps the last couple of seasons that Phoenix hadn't taken. So Milwaukee may be more equipped to deal with the adversities that come up in a championship round like this because of the experience that they have. So if they win, I wouldn't be that surprised if they won over Phoenix with all the young legs and the youth, because they haven't taken any lumps yet. This is their first time in the playoffs. They don't know about getting there, getting beat down, and then coming back and winning it the next year. Well, Milwaukee does have that understanding, what that's like, what that feels like.
I guess they do.
Yeah, well.
Glad you said it.
Yeah, they lost 2 years ago to Toronto, and then last year they got beat in the first round by Miami down in the bubble.
Yeah, wow. But that's where leadership comes into play. And if Chris isn't turning the ball over, if he's setting you up right where he needs to set you up, advantage goes Phoenix in my mind. I think that Giannis.
You're right. They got to knock those shots down, though.
Oh, yeah. Giannis will be the key.
Right. But I think Chris Middleton is the key because he is so up and down. He's not as consistent. They showed this morning, I was looking at some information that's talking about Chris Middleton. When Giannis is not in the lineup, Chris Middleton may have 35. The next time he's not in the lineup, he may have 15. So he don't always step up when Giannis is not in the lineup, but there are times that he does. So, but you don't know which Chris Middleton you're going to get from game to game sometimes. That's been the big key. So,
Curt, you got a prediction there?
Well, both my teams are out. I'm pulling for Phoenix simply because I want to see, I think Booker, but I really want Chris Paul to get his first.
I do too.
But, I'm looking for Phoenix because I like the last name Booker. And I think Devin's going to show and prove.
Yeah. I'm a little partial to that last name also.
There you go.
So
I think Chris Paul is going to control the tempo of the game. Because like you said, he no turnovers, like straight out DC mentioned. So I think he's going to control the tempo, and that's really going to give an advantage.
Here's what I like. I'm sorry to jump in there. Here's what I like. I finally like the fact that Phoenix, there's two big men in the game. It's not just one. We keep talking about one, but DeAndre is running a good game. This guy's got his legs under him. He's confident. He's going up with the ball. He's finishing. And so I don't know if Milwaukee is ready for a dominant big man to be back in the game. And Chris Paul has pumped his head up that he's the next Patrick Ewing. I see him getting, 3 block shots.
Wow.
I see him being able to keep, both of the, the big men out of the paint as deep as they get. And we got some scrappers out there on the team as well. I mean, Crowder's a scrapper. And I don't think Milwaukee has a good scrapper to deal with.
Oh boy.
You would say that they would. The book is open. Go ahead.
Well, no, that's interesting because Brook Lopez at 7'1", 265 is a pretty big man. The issue is that he can make the three. So if he's making the three, Hayden may have to go out on him.
Yeah.
And so that opens up the middle.
But I would put Hayden on. I wouldn't put Hayden on him.
Who you put on him?
I would put Hayden on the superstar for Milwaukee.
Giannis?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But Giannis may not play.
Oh yeah. But if Giannis is in there, let's put him in there. Let's put
Giannis in there.
on his knee and throw him out there.
And if you put Hayden on him and they stop Giannis out at the 3-point line, what do? You make him go out there on him?
Don't let Giannis beat you.
That's what I'm saying. Do you let him go out? Do you make him go out there on Giannis?
Oh yeah.
See, if I would use your scenario, I wouldn't. I would say, okay, Giannis, if you're gonna beat me from the 3-point line, I just have to lose because I don't think he can beat you from out there. Right. So if I'm gonna switch Hayden out on Giannis out there, then I just say I keep Hayden back in the paint and say, Giannis, if you can beat me with the 3, we can live with that because I don't think he can.
Okay.
You dare him to shoot the 3 now. The last couple of games, he hadn't settled for taking the 3. So if you go down in the paint, now you're right. I think Hayden is at the advantage because he's so long and so tall and can jump so high. So he may give Giannis a whole lot of trouble trying to drive to the basket against him. And so Giannis has to be a better passer at that point.
Yeah, which he's not. Let's just admit that.
Well, he's not a terrible passer. If the man is open or he get double teamed, he knows how to find the open man. I've seen him do it many, many times. They got to knock down the shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, it comes down to nowadays the game it's not a big man game in the paint. It's a 3-point shooting game or even mid-range. And that's what Chris Paul does so well is that he don't settle for 3s. He shoots those mid-range 2s, and those 2s add up. When I played, there were no 3s in the game. So all we had was 2s. When I played, you could even dunk in college. Mm-hmm. That's how far back I go.
Do they still have any footage, the black and white footage from those games?
You say we weren't even doing color back then, huh, Curt?
We were doing color.
Curt, they were actually doing color in the 70s. I have to admit, there was.
It's back when they had square basketballs.
Yes.
So the other forward that's out there that's with the Phoenix Suns is it Cameron Johnson, something like that. I think he brings a dimension where that's good young. Phoenix has a young team with some tall players that could cause problems for Milwaukee, and Cameron is one of them. Because he's always, he's got a good game.
No question. The difference is that he's inexperienced.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Cameron Johnson, small forward.
Yeah.
Right. Now, he can give Chris Middleton a whole handful of defense. Yeah. But the thing that Chris Middleton brings to the table is he's a veteran that knows how to get a young kid off the floor and draw fouls.
Yeah.
So can you get him in foul trouble? Because that's the thing. As I said, for Middleton, if Middleton is going well, then he's shooting the ball from everywhere, and there ain't a lot you can do. You got to get him in that situation where he's uncomfortable and he's not making those shots. Then he'll stop shooting them because that's the kind of player he is. He's up and down, so you got to get to him early and get him off his game.
Are we going to see, I think we're going to see a high scoring series. I mean, we're definitely, I'm punching the clock well over 100 at each game. I don't think we're going to have any low scoring games. I think that both teams are going to come out firing.
Yeah, unless you have one of those games when both teams are off and they end up with a 89-94 ball game because nobody couldn't make anything on either side. But you're right, Lonnie, I believe that they will be pretty high score. I think both teams will be over 100 each game because there's just so much scoring in the game nowadays. But remember that the possessions are going to be limited because they're not going to get, you don't get as many possessions in the playoffs as you do during the regular season. So they got to take full advantage of the playoff of the possessions that you get, because it can easily be a low scoring game if you're not making shots.
I'll give the advantage to Phoenix under high scoring wins.
If they're going to be high scoring games, I would agree with you that Phoenix probably has an advantage. And I think that's because of their youthfulness and their young legs and that energy that they bring. Milwaukee has to figure out a way to try to slow that energy down and make those kids play half-court defense for 20 seconds each possession and see if they can still hang with that. Yeah, because Milwaukee is not a fast-breaking team. Phoenix is, on the other hand.
You kind of going back and forth, because earlier you said that there would be no fast break opportunity.
I said I said there won't be as many. They are a fast breaking team, but that don't mean they're gonna get a lot of opportunities to fast break. That's because that's who you are. If the other team slows you down, you may be a fast breaking team without many opportunities to run the fast break.
All right. This is back to the beginning where I'm not sure you're making yourself clear answering the question.
Okay.
Fast breaks are going to happen. It's fast breaks is going to be advantage to Phoenix. Phoenix is going to run them up and down. Ain't no one stopping to let someone look. Are you saying that Milwaukee's going to slow down the fast breaks on Chris Paul and these young legs?
What I'm saying is that in the NBA itself, as a unit, as a playoff product, you don't get nearly as many fast breaks in the playoffs because coaches start to kind of coach more. They call more plays for your team. So will there be some opportunities for fast breaks? Yes. Will there be as many as you would have in the regular season? No. So say, for instance, to give you some numbers, say, for instance, if you average 15 fast breaks a game in the regular season, when you get to the playoffs, that may be 7. That may be 8.
Because
you see what I'm saying? So you still may get some fast breaks, but you won't get as many because each possession is so important. With a lot of the times when you're a fast breaking team, you get a number of turnovers too, because you're running. But in the playoffs, coach would much rather you slow it down, make sure we get a good shot, as opposed to rushing and trying to get a fast break that the ball may slip off somebody's hands because they weren't right in the, you see what I'm saying? So will they get some? Yes. Will they get as many as they normally would get? No.
It's just because the coaches are trying to prove that they can coach during a championship.
Well, they're not trying to prove that they can coach. That's what they get paid for. Their job is to make sure, see, in the playoffs, every possession is so important that the reason that turnovers hurt you so much in the playoffs is because each time you have a turnover, that's a chance that you didn't even get a shot at the basket. Yeah. So what coach is saying, even if we miss the shot, we got to take a shot. Because if you take a shot and miss it, you had a chance for it to go in. If you don't even get a shot, there ain't no chance for it to go in. So coach would much rather you slow it down a little bit so we can get a shot, whether it goes in or not, versus you in a rush and you don't even get a shot. So that's why turnovers are so more important in the playoffs than they are in the regular season.
Very, very good call. Very good call. But, I think advantage goes to the assist master in hitting the players in the positions where they can pull it off. Brook Lopez, I mean, he's a liability to the team.
No, he's not. No. I'm not going to let you say Lonnie.
He can't really ball. He might get his swing word, size 24. He
Lonnie,
came in all right.
Lonnie, no
You
way
telling
can
me
you.
Brook Lopez is the key to
No,
to
Lonnie, I didn't say he
pulling
was
it
the
off?
key. Lonnie, you said he was a liability.
He is.
And I'm telling you, he is not a liability. I'm telling you that Brook Lopez, and if you talk to any NBA aficionados, nobody's going to tell you Brook Lopez is a liability. Come on, Lonnie. I'm not telling you he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but you can't tell me for a second when I'm looking at the numbers and the way he plays that he's a liability. You may not have looked at him recently. You might want to check Brook Lopez again and see what he's been doing before you start saying that he is a liability. So, because if he was, he wouldn't be playing. If he was, how you gonna be a starter on a championship quality team as a liability?
I'm not. Can he even dunk? Because I see.
That's what I'm saying. You haven't been watching the games, Lonnie.
Lopez,
other side of this bread,
Lonnie. You have not been watching the game. If you're asking if Brook Lopez can dunk, you haven't been watching the game.
Lopez is killing him.
I'm trying to tell you. He ain't been you told me you weren't paying attention.
I didn't watch the last game, but the game prior to the last one,
Tell
Lopez
him,
was a factor.
Tell him.
Oh my world. He was a major factor.
Shots, he was dunking, he was shooting threes.
He's 7'8". The rim's only what?
Well, he's actually 7'1", 270. But the thing is that,
and I'm thinking about benching Pat and Dante at the same time too.
Yeah, well, you need to watch the games.
Lopez is a true big man. He's a true big man.
That can also shoot threes. That can also shoot threes. If you pull him up and look at his numbers of what he shoots for threes, what he does, rebound and block shots, you would never say that Brook Lopez is a liability.
On the chalkboard that Lopez is a liability. He's going to drag Phoenix and them. They're going to drag the Milwaukee Bucks down. Put this on the whiteboard, Curt, that Brook Lopez ain't going to contribute nothing.
Boom. You heard it first here, folks. Straight out of DC. Straight out of DC saying Brook Lopez is going to be a liability.
He said he is not going to
hold down the Milwaukee Bucks.
He said
the Phoenix Suns are
going to pull clear because he said he is not going to contribute to them winning.
He is not going to contribute. Straight out of DC. You heard it first. Liability, Book.
Yeah, well, that means that tells me that, Lonnie, you're right. You have been paying much more attention to the Tour de France than watching the NBA. That's what that tells me, and I understand.
No, but wait, he's not going to be able to keep up.
I hear you telling me all of this, but you ain't watching the games, so you can't really say that that's the case because me and Curt is watching him do this. We've been watching it, and you haven't been watching.
But you and Curtis have been wrong all series long.
No, we have not, Curt. Come on, Lonnie.
Both of our teams are out, huh?
Well, yeah, Atlanta Hawks and look.
My team been out my team was out after the first round, so it's not about my team at all.
Thank you.
But if you're telling me that you have been watching the games and you saying that, but you already explained to me you haven't been watching the games. So when you offer an opinion and you haven't been watching the games, that tells me that it begs the question, how are you forming an opinion when you haven't even watched them play?
13 points. And I got the stats now since you brought it up. 7 foot. Okay. 13 points. I guess that's
is this for the season or for the series? What are you looking at?
This is the season.
Okay. But now the playoffs is different than the season.
6 rebounds.
But playoffs is different than the season. You can't go by the season. You have to go by how he's playing now.
How he's playing right now.
How is
what he did back then don't count.
You know what? Yeah, he'll be a good distraction to get people away from, Giannis. 6 rebounds, 13 points. Is he even there? Or is the fast guards of the Phoenix Suns just going to run him around? He's going to be benched most of this series.
I think if they
y'all be looking back at the stats, it'll be over.
I think to slow down Lopez, you're going to have to slow down Holiday because Holiday gives Lopez some good looks. Them two, they work great in tandem. Because Lopez in a lot of
the problem is, Curtis, he wouldn't know that because he's not watching the games. He's speculating.
Yes. But let me show you. Let me tell you.
See, he said,
I can't tell you one place that Lopez will be a liability in the Tour de France.
That's true.
Listen, I'm benching Lopez. I'm putting Tucker in the whole game. He's running all. He's running
Who?
all the
Who?
PJ Tucker. He's running the whole game.
Lottie. Come on, bro. Be straight. Come on. This is us. It's just the fellas. PJ Tucker is 6'6". He ain't playing center for Milwaukee. Come on now. Be straight. Pull up PJ's numbers.
We're running a
Pull up
game.
PJ's numbers.
Who is Tucker? I haven't even heard of him.
PJ, see?
We're gonna have to run a small lineup out there in Milwaukee. You can't be running.
No, you don't.
I know what you're saying.
So if you got your 7-footer from Phoenix out there, so you think that Milwaukee ain't gonna put their 7-footer out there? Why would they not put theirs out there if you got your 7-footer out there? Tell me.
He's a liability to the whole. Yes, he's gonna pick up some scraps that Holiday done dropped off. But if Tucker's not winning, if Tucker's not playing a good game, you'll put Lopez.
Lonnie, they don't even play the same position. One is 6'6", the other one is 7'1". They don't even play the same position. You can't substitute Tucker for him at all. But Lonnie, I want you to pull up his playoff numbers. Pull up the playoff numbers for Brook Lopez, not just the regular season.
So straight out of DC, let me get this understanding. You're saying because of the pace of the game, Lopez, he's too big, too heavy to be able to keep up with that pace. But
Right.
the book is open. He's saying the coach is going to coach more, so there's going to be less fast breaks. So Lopez can be more of a factor because now they're calling more plays and slowing down the pace of the game. I'm thinking if Chris Paul gets to control the tempo, Lopez would be a liability because they wouldn't be able to keep up. And
but he ain't got to keep up
there.
with Chris Paul. All he got to do is keep up with Chris Paul's big man.
No, well, if you got Devin, he's going to be killing him in the 3-point area.
He ain't got to guard Devin. He's got to guard their big man.
But there's not going to be a chance. You know what Lopez is going to be doing most of the time? Taking the ball out. He's going to be taking the ball out after the 3-pointer.
Whatever
And
you
coming
say.
up court late.
Devin Booker comes down, and the 3s and the 2s and the 2s and the 3s, they're going to have put Lopez on the sideline because he's going to be tired of taking the ball out.
You think he's going to get 17 points? Let's just open the book back up. You telling me Lopez is going to get 17 points, or is he going to get 12?
In any of the games.
And yeah.
Oh, I guarantee you that he will have 20 in at least 2 of the games.
Wow. They're going to have to run a play for Lopez. He can't pick up scraps on 20 points.
Brother,
Otherwise,
I told you,
Holiday
Lopez. See, but that's the thing. The difference is that you won't pull up Lopez's numbers for the playoffs. You gave me his regular season. Pull up his 3-point shooting in the playoffs. Pull up that information. You want to limit it to make your point. I get that. But then when you want to discourage and you want to say that a liability, you have to then define what liability is in the context of the playoffs that we're about to have. I'm not hearing those kind of things. All I'm hearing is just kind of pie in the sky, pulling numbers out of the sky. I'm not hearing anything that's definitive. When I shared with you how the playoffs were, I gave you good, solid intel, deep information, but I haven't gotten that back.
Oh, I am putting players in front of you now. Since you want to get it back, I'm putting a player in front of you. I'm saying, we're going to be running up and down the court. We better put Lopez on the bench. That's
and I'm saying to you, they're not going to be running up and down the court like that. So you're trying to tell me that what I've already said and what I've already experienced and seen for years and years and years of watching the NBA, it's going to change this year because Brook Lopez and Phoenix is playing. That ain't happening. Phoenix is not going to be running all around and we just going. That ain't happening. They didn't do that in the last series against the Clippers. It is not going to be a run up and down series. It's going to be still possession to possession to try to get a bucket every time down the floor.
What I also heard was that the ArmChair QB in the book is open has been wrong a lot. And
really? Tell
Not a lot,
me what
but
book has
been
been
wrong a
wrong a
couple
lot.
times. So straight out DC is making a prediction that we're going to be wrong again.
All
There's
I'm
not going to
saying
be a
is,
half-court game all night long. Someone's got to take a spurt. And
but
when
did not, but
pitchers
did I
spurts,
not? Are you telling me that you didn't understand when I gave you the analogy? Is that what you're saying?
no, I agree with you, but I wouldn't coach
Right.
it.
So I didn't say there wouldn't be any fast breaks. I said the majority of the possessions would not be in a fast break setting. It's going to be possession by possession that they're trying to make sure that they don't do something that caused them to lose a possession without getting a shot. That's the key part of the NBA in the playoffs is make sure your team gets a shot when you come down the floor. So if you're having a lot of turnovers, that's why I told you turnovers in the playoffs is far more important because you have fewer possessions. So you need to make each possession count as best you can. If you regularly have 100 possessions in a game during the regular season running up and down, in the playoffs, that may be as low as 70 to 75 possessions. So now you have to make sure each one of those possessions count more. So I've never said that there wouldn't be any fast breaks. What I said that they would be limited. I said that they would be less to the tune of about 50%.
Thank you so much. And I agree with you. Slow it down, get a clean shot. And Middleton probably doesn't pass to Lopez. Do you think Middleton will pass to Lopez? I'm
Does
just
all the time.
in front of you.
Lonnie, the question, Lonnie, is that if you don't watch the games, you don't see these things. But us that's watching the games, we see Lopez get passes from Middleton. But Lonnie, it's hard for us to have this conversation, me and you, when you're not watching the games. You're just telling me things that you think might happen, and I'm telling you things that we see happening. That's different. You gotta watch the games, bro. You got to.
Listen, I've been watching basketball all my life.
You haven't been watching this series. You didn't watch this season. We talking not 20 years ago. We talking because Curt just told you what did Lopez do against the Hawks, and the Hawks got big people too. They was giving lobs. He was blocking shots. He's shooting threes. You telling me that he ain't gonna do that? You telling me he can't do that? He's a liability. And you want to tell me about how many seasons you've been watching basketball? Lonnie, come on, bro. I've been watching basketball longer than you.
Lopez was definitely a factor in that series.
All right, let me switch the subject since I agree I agree with Ralph 100%. We'll call him the book. He bookmarked that whole section. So let's go to the next chapter.
Go for it.
What's that little guard's name who comes in after Chris Paul sits down for his break? Now he's got a game.
I know you're talking about great little player.
Yes. Yeah. Who's watching him? I feel like he got anytime he wanted to get a shot off, not that he was a great scorer, but no one could really watch him. Do you see he being a factor in the game?
Yeah, he could be. It depends. See, when you look at bench players, first of all, they play better at home. And then secondly, sometimes they're not nearly as consistent as the starters and as the people that get the most minutes. In this kid's place, when Chris Paul wasn't there, he played fantastic.
Who are you referring to?
Oh man, I can't think.
Is it Payne? Kelvin
yes.
Payne?
Yeah, I think it's Payne. He's a great player.
Cameron Payne.
But it's just like everything else. When Phoenix puts him on the floor, they're gonna have 4 other guys with him, and Milwaukee gonna put 5 guys out there too. So somebody is gonna guard him. It ain't like if he was all of that in the bag of chips, he'd be starting for somebody. So he's coming off the bench, and there will be somebody from Milwaukee. I don't know their roster like their coach knows it, but the thing that happens in the playoffs that everybody forgets is that when you play a team in the regular season, you may play them on a Friday night. Well, you played a game on Wednesday against another team, and then you flew into Atlanta, and you play Atlanta on Friday night. Well, in the playoffs, they don't have that. All we concentrating on is just one team. We ain't got to scout the team that we played on Wednesday night and then scout the team for Atlanta. All the coaches, defense and offense, they're all right now looking at film. How do we slow the Phoenix down here? How do we slow Milwaukee down here? This is their favorite play. Every team knows every team's favorite plays. How they get Chris Middleton open. How do they get Chris Paul open? Every team has a defensive specialist coach. And all they do is look at how do we slow this down? How do we do this? So it ain't going to be the same as the regular season. It's going to be a team defense. It's going to be a team concept of how we slow the entire team down. They don't just, oh, well, when he comes in, we just throw up our hands because he's too good for everybody on our team. We can't guard him. That ain't how it works. They go after everybody. They know the strengths and weaknesses of everybody on that bench, on both teams. I guarantee you.
Now,
So we're looking at Payne. Payne's shooting on average 8.8 per game.
Oh, is he even
points.
there? He only getting 8 points. That's what Lonnie said about my boy.
About
If he
8
only
points.
getting 12 points, he must not even be there.
That's what he's
So
averaging.
Payne,
And he's averaging about 484 percentage.
how many turnovers?
Let me see if I can see his more of a stat.
Because Lonnie said, because my boy is only getting 11 points, he must not even be there. So Payne, we ain't got to worry about him. Lonnie, he ain't getting but 8 points. Is he even there?
All right, I'm gonna write it down. I'm going with 5 games. I'm sorry. Let me think this one through. I think it's
You might want to think a little bit more harder about that.
I think this, for money purposes, I think it's going to be a 7-game series. Number one, this is it. This is it to the next season, right? This got to go 7 games to make it.
It don't have to. It don't. I don't think it's going 7.
I think the Vegas odds are 7 games. That's where I'm putting my money. I really think they're going to let Chris Paul take this one on home.
MVP
Chris Paul.
Wow.
Those
You
are
heard
my
it here
predictions.
first.
You heard it, ArmChair.
Right, but I'm still waiting on straight out of DC because he started with 5 and then he backed off. I don't know where he's at now.
6.
Yeah, I tried to run a 1-and-1 and then a bang 2 and Philly. And
You
Philly
said you carried the 1 and then when you carried the 1 over there, it didn't work. And
I call you tomorrow. Do this new circumstance, new information.
Yeah.
Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we're gonna rebroadcast, huh?
Yeah, it's like Chris Paul said. You got a GED, a good enough education, a good enough degree. I'm just trying to get you to tell me how many games the series is gonna go.
Nice. Oh.
And who gonna win?
I think I'm gonna go with 6. And I'm gonna go ahead and reclaim my small man game and go with Phoenix. I feel that
Phoenix and 6.
Phoenix and 6 small game.
And then and Lonnie, let me ask you, that has nothing to do with, let me ask you, Lonnie, that has nothing to do with injuries on either team, right?
Well, the game is played with injuries.
Well, yeah, but that's why I'm asking you, because you could say if Giannis plays is this, if Giannis don't play is that. I'm just trying to get you I'm understanding you.
No, injuries don't mean anything. That's a part of all leagues. Injuries
mean everything.
It showed. It showed.
Let me just tell you.
Night.
Do you think for a second Milwaukee would have beat them had the Nets been fully healthy?
If Trae was healthy, the Hawks would be in it.
Well, I don't know about that.
Injured. I do believe if Trae was in it, he could have made that 11 points up.
If the Nets had all 3 of their big guys healthy, I don't think Milwaukee would have beat them.
And I really think if Trae was healthy, he'd have made those 11 points up in 3-pointers easily.
No,
we're talking about the Hawks right now.
The book, you can't play the injury card.
That's all I'm. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing you saying.
And fractions, and now every league has injuries. That's the whole name of the game.
Most of the players are going out there with injuries.
I'm saying the same thing you're saying. So we're not talking about if Giannis plays or doesn't play. We're just saying Phoenix and 6 regardless, right?
Phoenix in 6?
Okay, that's what he said, Phoenix and 6.
Hey, Phoenix and 6. You heard it first.
And if Booker injures a finger, we'll go 7,
No, see, that's what I'm saying. We can't say that. That's why I tried to give you that out to begin with. Now you're coming back to it. I don't want to hear it. I tried to give you that out to begin with. That's why I asked you that question. And now you're coming back. Well, if Booker hurts his finger, now we're going to go 7. We saying 6. Just give me one prediction.
All right, here's the
In-
prediction. First of
Injuries
all,
do not have a factor. No,
Fine.
I didn't say that. He said that.
right. But now he said if somebody
Right.
hurts
Now
his
you
finger,
want
it
to
dies
start
another
going
game.
in injuries.
Come on.
the book does not get to comment because he wrote it in a permanent marker 2
Yes.
to 3 weeks ago. I don't even need your comment book. I was just trying to help you out understand the game a little bit better. But you already marked it on the board with a permanent marker. Now you want to claim if Giannis,
I didn't say nothing about Giannis. We're asking about your prediction.
That's
We
right.
asked about yours. You
We
said
was going to
Phoenix
let
and
you get something.
Hey, straight out of DC, did you say the 70s was a long time ago?
well, yeah, it was. I know it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But the question still remains. Phoenix in 6.
Phoenix in 6. I say Phoenix in 7. Lonnie, straight out of DC.
Lonnie, Phoenix in 6?
Yeah, you're not voting. No, you're off the book. The book is closed.
Well, how in the world you gonna vote? You ain't even watching the game.
Flipping and
You ain't
flying
even watching the
like this.
game. You watching the Tour de France and you're gonna vote? If anybody gets a vote, I get a vote because I'm watching the game.
You keep changing every week.
I don't change. No, bro. I'm not gonna let you say that. I'm not gonna let you say that and get away with it. I do not change every week. That is not true. That is not true, Lonnie. I'm not gonna let you get away with saying that. That's not
Somebody
true.
doing more flipping and flopping than they do in the NBA.
All I want to know is your prediction Phoenix in 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, yes.
But you also start talking about if somebody gets hurt. You said that too.
No. All right. Well,
we ain't going by nobody getting hurt.
No.
Phoenix in 6.
Fellas, I do want to mention something. Sha'Carri Richardson, track and field.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Is it
what do you think about that?
Is it more political than anything else? Or is it something that she made a mistake?
She made a mistake.
She's going through a hard time, and should she still be allowed to compete?
She made a mistake, and when you make a mistake, you have to, whatever those consequences of that mistake, you have to be willing to accept those consequences. Those rules were in place long before she ran one race. They were in place last year. They were in place at the last Olympics. This is not a brand new rule at all. It's been in place. And when you break the rules, I understand where she's coming from, but the reality is that whatever the consequences come with us breaking the rules, we have to accept those and then don't break them again and just move forward.
I didn't follow that one. What did she do? She
smoked some marijuana, and when they did the drug test, it came back with marijuana, but that's against the rules.
You sure she didn't just rub some?
She told us directly that she smoked marijuana. She said it out of her own mouth, brother. Don't get it twisted. It ain't about she rubbed no shit on her legs. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
Okay, so I'm glad I wanted you guys to say that. Get that out. So Michael Phelps.
But wait a minute, he ain't said nothing about it there.
Michael Phelps.
I don't know anything about it. I mean,
okay,
how about Michael Phelps a few years ago in
what
Olympics?
About him? What
he
happened?
was smoking marijuana, and he is still allowed to compete.
No, not.
He got to keep the gold. He kept his gold.
Curtis, but you can't mix them together. It was during the off season that he smoked. He didn't smoke during the trials. He did not. That he was not found guilty. He was not drug tested and found THC in his system during the trials. That was after the Olympics was over with.
Okay.
In between Olympics. Yeah, he won Olympics. He smoked marijuana. He won Olympics again. When they tested him, he didn't have it in the system, so it was already done. So it's not political. It's just the rules.
I agree with you, and I'm glad you mentioned it like that because I did have a conversation with somebody else, and we were comparing the two situations, and actually they're not the same.
They're not the same. Not even close to the same. She was in the Olympic trials for America. She ran the race. After the race, they tested her. She was clean for everything, all performance enhancing drugs. She was completely clean of all of that, but she had THC in her system, which is also spelled out in the rules that you can't do. And she admitted she was wrong. And she's been a stand-up young lady the whole time. She's 21, very stand-up. Her mother passed.
Right.
And, so she was dealing with those issues. And to calm her down, she smoked some marijuana. That's what she said. She said it.
That's what she said.
And she said, I know I was wrong. I made a mistake. So now everybody is talking about, should the consequences be such that she gets suspended? Well, the rules and the consequences are all spelled out before you do it.
Well, there are rules in place, but at the same time, this is bigger than that rule.
Tell me why.
Because this is about her athletic ability.
Right, but she broke the rules.
And that doesn't mean she's not the fastest. And she still qualifies in her performance. She qualified.
Right.
And because, I don't know, I think there's a way to get around that.
So tell me, why would we want to get around it? Why don't we just change the rule?
Because rules are made to be broken.
No, they're not. I never buy that.
Okay.
I never bought into the rules are made to be broken.
Let me take that back. But there are, how can I say, you can bend them a little bit when you have somebody who's a shining star. It's done in business, it's done in all sports. Because this person is the face of something, they get away with a little more than everybody else. And they could let her perform. This will all be swept under the carpet when she gets there and wins the gold.
Right. But the question is, should she get there after having broken the rules? What about the other athletes that didn't break the rules? So you're saying that
breaking the rules and just not admitting to it.
Pardon me?
The other athletes who are breaking the rules and not admitting to it?
No, they all get tested. She only admitted it because she got tested. Curtis, she didn't come out with afterwards she smoked marijuana and, oh, by the way, guys, I'm sorry, I smoked some marijuana. No. After she ran the race, she got tested and the test came back positive. It's when she admitted it.
Doesn't marijuana?
So all the athletes get tested after every race.
I would have said that I did it to try to slow me down, son, because I was beating everybody so badly.
You can say whatever you want to say. It's still against the rules.
I'm just trying to give everybody else a better chance.
Still against the rules.
Performance enhancement?
Pardon me?
Is that performance enhancement drug?
Well, it can be, depending on how you look at it. Curtis, let me run this past you, both of you guys, and see what you think. I heard a young man say this the other day, and it made me think. Okay, we know that marijuana generally is kind of a downer, and you don't, but what if you're an athlete? And he told me, he said, man, I was back in the back where the athletes get ready, train before they go out and run their races. And he said, there are some athletes, man, that are so pumped up and they're so nervous because this is their big chance that if you had an athlete that smoked marijuana that calmed them down, that may help them to be mentally prepared to go out there and run that race as opposed to being too hyped up. So there's another side to this. It may not be performance enhancing in terms of making you run faster, but what if it's performance enhancing to help you slow down and then, I've got that out of me. I don't have my nervousness. You know how some athletes perform better when they're nervous versus some that don't perform well when they're nervous? So you guys tell me, is that a possibility of it helping that way?
You know, I'm just going to jump in and not take a side. I mean, first of all, we've learned a lot of lessons politically about throw the book at them. And the book needs some.
But they didn't throw the book, though. They didn't disqualify. Right. They didn't disqualify her. They just suspended her for 1 month. That's what the rule, that's what the punishment is, 1 month suspension.
Right. So she can't run the 100, but she can run the 400 meter.
If the rest of the team is okay with that, because remember, there are 4 other athletes that are training right now for that 4x100. So if they say we're gonna allow her to run it, who do you take off?
But I thought she was already in it.
She's not. She's in the 100.
So she can't train at all either, or she just can't run it. She can't. She's suspended from running the race.
Right. If you were suspended, I don't think you can participate with the team while you're suspended.
Yeah, we'd have to look.
Because remember, they out there practicing the baton toss. the handoff. They're doing all of that right now, getting ready. So then when she is reinstated, it's the day before that race is run in the Olympics. So then you take somebody off that's been practicing with the other three ladies the whole time to put her in. Who do you decide you're going to take off?
Well, but at what point was that other person injected into the fourth man?
Once she gets suspended.
But she's been practicing with them all this time, so she's already been running that race.
We'll have to tell you, Curtis, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if she's been practicing with them this whole time or not.
That's how they qualified already with her. They qualified to run in the Olympics with her on the team.
I thought she was qualified for the 100. I didn't know that the 4x400 had been qualified before she was suspended. And if that's the case, I understand. But again, man, if somewhere along the line, if we ain't going to do what we should be doing, and I understand this young lady is a phenomenal young lady. She is, man, she's well respected across all avenues. That's not the question at all. The question is, here are the rules that were set up prior to everybody know the rules. So if you break the rules, do we not suspend this person because she's such a great athlete?
Yes.
Or do we follow the rule? Okay, well, see, again, I'm not that guy.
Well,
I'm not that guy. I'm that guy that says, you know what? I understand. And I do get it. But how many of us haven't lost their mothers? We all have had gone through something. Everybody has. So it just depends on how you deal with it. And what she chose to do, and she admitted it, that she, I needed something to comfort me. I needed something to help me at that moment. So she smoked some marijuana. I ain't mad about that, just so you know.
All right, Ralph, let's bring it back home. I know we're running up on the hour here. So
Yes.
Since you're not that guy sometimes, right? So
no, I'm not that guy.
Well,
you
right,
put in the
no,
sometimes. You never heard me say sometimes. You never heard me say sometimes.
I'm sorry.
I'm not that guy.
I'm trying to make my point.
Okay, but when you throw in something when you refer to me and you put something in that's not accurate, I gotta call you on it.
This is sports talk with an attitude, and I get it.
But
I'm saying,
but Lottie, you said Ralph is sometimes that guy. Ralph never said sometimes. Ralph said, I'm not that guy. Period.
Here's my point. All right, I appreciate that, and I'll take that to heart. I will.
Okay.
So Jason Tatum on the USA Olympic team, is he a starter over Drew Holiday? Because
they play different positions.
See, all right.
They play different positions.
I'll try it again.
But they don't play the same position. They're not a starter over one over the other. They don't play the same position, no.
Chris Middleton.
What's Tatum?
Tatum is a small forward. He's 6'9.5", and he plays small forward.
And
Drew Holiday is a point guard. They don't play the same position.
All right, Chris Middleton.
Okay, Chris Middleton. That's different.
Who starts?
Right now, I pick Chris Middleton.
I pick
because he's in the
Yes, that's one of the reasons.
I think
because have you seen him play lately?
No.
Yes. He's been doing very well, but he's no Jason Tatum.
Well, Jason Tatum ain't no. Well, guess what? Jason Tatum ain't no Chris Middleton. He at home. Chris Middleton is playing, so you can say what you want to say. Now, if you're talking about one young star up and coming, Middleton versus Tatum, yeah, I'm taking Tatum, no question. Mm-hmm. But when you start talking about starting in the Olympics, see, we can't even talk about none of that until they get in front of the coaches and they play and they practice and see then the coaches make those decisions. For us to try to make a decision like that and the team ain't even been together and practice, I don't know how you can do that.
Is Bradley Beal a starter on your U.S. Olympic team?
Who else is on the team?
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Do you need anyone else on the team like he's doing?
Now, let me ask you this:
he's going to teach the country.
So my question is: he a starter over Dame Lillard?
Oh, okay.
No.
That's what I'm saying. It just depends on who else is on the team. You can't just ask a question when you got 12 people out there. Hey, if he's the only one that can play, yeah, he's a starter.
Kevin, let's make it easy. Is Kevin Durant a starter?
Probably. Depends on who's on the team.
Bradley Beal is a starter. Just
It
mark
depends
that
on
down.
who's on. That's for you. That's not for me.
Look, agree with me on just that point.
Which point?
We just agree to disagree on most of these. Bradley Beal's a starter on the Olympics team.
For straight out of DC.
Oh, okay, fine. Let me let Devin Booker in the game.
Okay.
Who do you put in there? Devin Booker or Bradley Beal?
It all depends on practice, bro.
Oh my God.
See, we're looking at it from what they've done with their teams individually. But when you put all those stars on the same team, things are not the same. They're different. So the coaches make those decisions according to what they see when you get all these stars playing with each other and against each other in practice. For us to sit and just say, look at their careers and who does what, yeah, that may be great. But when you put them all in the same room, in the same gym, on the same floor, we don't know that's how it's going to turn out. And you can say that if you want to, but I remember when if you go back and look at the deal, they'll tell you on that super team that the U.S. had, Charles Barkley was as important as Michael Jordan. Everybody will tell you that. Go talk to the people that were there, that was with the team. Everybody will tell you that Charles Barkley was just as important to that team as Michael Jordan. But we would have thought that beforehand? No.
Okay.
So it's hard to say that before they actually practice together and play together. I mean, I can't answer that question.
Okay, I have a roster here. 2021 U.S. Olympic team roster.
All right.
NBA. Bam.
Bam Adebayo.
Alabama out of Miami Heat. Bradley
Yes.
Beal.
Yes.
Devin Booker.
Yes.
KD.
Yes.
Jeremy Grant.
Okay.
Draymond Green.
Okay.
Drew Holiday.
Okay.
Zach Levine.
All right.
Damian Lillard.
See there?
Kevin Love.
Okay.
Chris Middleton.
All right.
And Jason Tatum. Boston Celtics.
Right. So no Chris Paul.
No Lopez.
No Lopez.
All right. So we'll pick that up next week when they start practicing together. Apparently Kevin Durant got to go out and challenge his own starting position. And we'll see what we set. If we could just set the tone for that for up and coming conversation after this long series of NBA, injury reports and COVID-19.
Good to see you.
And we got a star coming in.
We're recording live location in Chateau Hobson here in Cleveland, Ohio. So we got people coming in and out.
So guys, if for the rest of the Olympics, if anybody else get found positive, do we let them play anyway?
I think because of the level of the athlete and the impact that they'll have, I say yes on this and do a suspension at the beginning of whatever her track season may be, and say, hey, there's several meets that you cannot compete in, and take some money out of her pocket.
So if I go out, so then Curtis, if you let me play now, let me run now.
Yes, sir.
I go out and I win the gold medal in the Olympics.
Yes, sir.
And you say, for then next year, we're going to suspend you.
Yeah,
and if I say to you, well, I've won my gold medals, I'm retiring. So she never got any punishment.
She will get fined.
So once I win the gold,
fine.
That's no reason for me to come back.
Give her a fine.
How you gonna find somebody that once I retire, how you gonna get any money from me?
No, she can pay a fine now.
Oh, so you saying fine her now?
Fine her now.
But don't punish her. Don't punish her until later.
Exactly. It's been done before.
When? That was done in the Olympics when?
Maybe not Olympics, but in other sports.
All of it is different. If we can't combine these sports. The Olympics and track and field is different than baseball and football. They have their own set of rules. These are the rules for Olympic track and field for American IOC. So if we say, yeah, they did that in baseball, but baseball have different rules than what they have for the IOC for the Olympics.
Right. And I say that simply because this is every 4 years.
Right.
Now you're going to take somebody who's earned that position, who worked hard for these 4 years. Actually, the number one, what's that called? The number one seat for the 100-meter guarantee of gold. And you're going to, because of this one thing, say, you know what, you're not qualified to compete in this, something that we know you're going to get the gold in.
That's not what we're saying, Curtis.
I don't think the punishment fits the crime.
So that's not what we're saying.
The punishment does not fit the crime because this person earned that spot.
I understand, and I respect your opinion immensely. But what I would say to you is that, so then when you look at all the other athletes that did the right thing, what about them? Because everybody did the right thing, but one person. So we're gonna let this one person, because see, faster than everybody, get away with it. But all the other athletes had to do the right thing. The whole time. They've been training for 4 years, just like her.
But I can see if she was taking some type of enhancement drug, then yes. But this is not as an enhancement drug.
But it's all about the drugs that's listed on this in the system. Because there are other drugs that are not on that list that if you took it, it wouldn't be no big deal. Right? Now, if she was taking say she had a problem with an infection in her nose and she was taking a sinus spray, and it, because this is the way I look at performance enhancing. You know how they talk about that in baseball and football and all that other stuff? They want to take people's records away and stuff. To me, anytime you have to get shot up in your ankle, to deaden your ankle so you can go out there and play, that's performance enhancing.
Right.
But they do that all the time in football.
Oh, yeah.
They do that all the time in basketball. They do that all the time in baseball. But these other drugs, they say, well, that's a performance enhancing drug. So, you shouldn't be able to compete. And, we keeping Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame because they say, well, he did steroids as a performance enhancing. But the same person, if Barry Bonds had a problem with his elbow and he got a shot in the elbow, he still got a drug that helped his performance. Matter of fact, he couldn't have performed at all without that drug because it would have been too sore to go out there, or his knee or his ankle. We do it all the time in every other sport where this drug is illegal, but all these other drugs, we'll let you do them and go out there and play with them. But this one here, we won't.
Because it's not a money maker for them because they can't regulate it.
Oh, they can regulate it. All they have to do is
legalize it.
Make it illegal.
But here's the difference. Here's a slight difference in my opinion. First of all, thank you for bringing up performance enhancement drugs. We want to go ahead and get a shout out to Lance Armstrong so you can get his stuff back that they took from him because of performance.
What, his testicle?
That's a lot. That's give my shout out to my Tour de France folks. But it all depends on these shots in the arms and how much of a dosage they're getting. I mean, some of it can be performance enhancement. I 100% agree. But we can't just go to an international field and say we're going to let this one slide, because that's going to just open up too much of a book. I'm sure everyone on the Olympic squad is getting a shot in their knee, and some things do help them.
Something.
I mean, they're all wrapped up too. They didn't, did something. But
right. So now you got an elbow brace on a knee brace.
So should we make everything legal then?
No. So can you consider an elbow brace or a knee brace performance enhancing?
It's not a drug.
Is it performance enhancing?
Yeah, but it's not a drug.
Think about that though. If it's performance
I'm
enhancing,
I'm thinking about it. It's not a drug. It's not something it's not something went in your body that helps your performance.
So now you wrapped your knee, you wrapped your ankle.
It's still not a drug. It's not something that you put into your body to help your performance. It's not a drug.
It's something that you put on your body. Okay, here you go. How about the one that has the copper in it?
It's not a drug.
But that's something to your cells. Does something to your membranes to help you heal and help you not feel that pain and help you perform.
Not a drug.
according to the commercials, it's something that doing something.
Not a drug.
You know, sports is a funny thing. I mean, you've got IndyCar racing and all of that as well. And there's rules. There's rules. And so you have to have some rules in place. There's no argument that you just can't, you know, add something to enhance either your physical or even your equipment's performance. I mean, you know, the cork in the bat, you know, you can't do that. You have to have some sort of rules, you know, in place. Otherwise, what are we purging again? Isn't that movie that's coming out?
Okay, so when you put those rules in place straight out of DC, then if somebody breaks those rules, do you have a punishment or there are consequences around those rules?
There are levels to it, yes.
Right, so so when somebody breaks the rules, should they then have to live with those consequences or suffer those, whatever that punishment is? If it's 1 day or if it's 1 year?
No, well, you know, here we are. I think in football these days, we're finding out that a lot more people have a mental illness. And in order for them to cope better, they are offered a drug to calm them down, just like you said.
Yes.
And so when you're being offered a professional athlete a drug, how can you then begin to, you know, punish another person, but it's okay in all other professional athletic events?
Do I get a chance to explain it?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my explanation of that. Every one of these guys that are getting paid that kind of money as a professional athlete, two things that they know. They know what the rules are and they know when the tests are coming. That's for sure.
Right.
Okay, so my thing is that somebody come and offer you something and you're a professional athlete and your livelihood depends on it and you take it anyway, bruh, when you gonna be a grown man? When you gonna be a grown up? You gotta say, I'm not putting that in my body, because there are so many athletes that don't put it in their body that you can't tell me that the ones that do are to get some kind of special dispensation because they decided they wanted to go against the rules, when you got all these others that don't break the rules, and then you got a few that do.
Well, what we gotta look at is she a marijuana smoker or did she happen to smoke marijuana?
Bruh, you can't be a marijuana smoker without having to smoke marijuana. You can't be, well, you know what? This is my first time. You think of all the things she had at her fingertips that this is the first time she ever smoked marijuana?
Possibly, because there's always a first time. There's always a first time.
I'm never buying that.
It can never be done again if you've never done it the first time. So that could have been her first time.
I don't believe that for 1 second, Curt.
Because you know why? She went all this time with all these tests and never tested positive.
Curtis, that's not necessarily true, because the only time, as I just said, they know when the tests are coming. So when you know the test is 2 months out, you can smoke all the marijuana you want.
No, but when you're training for Olympics, you don't get notified. It's random. It's random.
They test you after the race.
Oh.
They test you after the race. When the race is done, that's when they test you. All that other stuff is just leading up to it.
But I think you're missing my question. Let's go back for a moment just to my statement. They are actually giving mental illness persons in the NFL something to help them. They're allowing that in that professional sport. I can't say exactly what drug it is, but I'm aware.
So is that drug outlawed from the NFL?
It may not be, but you can't.
Okay, if that drug is not outlawed, then they're still within the rules. Remember,
I got a question.
They got all these drugs listed. Every one of these athletes in every professional sport know exactly which drugs are legal and not for their sport. Period. They all know. There's a list of them. You can call any agent, any player. They all know exactly which drugs are okay, which drugs are not. They know when they're going to be tested in advance, every time.
I got a question for you then.
Okay.
Marijuana smoker, if it's not the first time, how often, if they're a smoker of marijuana, how long does it stay in their system?
It's 30 days is what I've been told.
So the more often you smoke, it only stays in your system for 30 days?
30 days from the last time you smoked.
I think if you're a marijuana
if you
smoker,
smoke on Monday it's 30 days from Monday. Then if you come back and smoke on Friday, it ain't 30 days from Monday, it's 30 days from Friday.
But for somebody who smokes all the time, it's in your system. It stays in your system.
30 days. If you stop smoking, if you smoke regularly and then you stop for 30 days,
but she's been running.
Let me finish. You will have peed it out. Your body would have exerted it out after that 30-day period of time.
But if she's a marijuana smoker, she's been running more often than 30 days.
I understand that, but she may not be a regular marijuana smoker. But when we start saying this may be her first time, that's the part that I don't believe. So she may not if you decide you're going to turn to something you've never turned to in the past,
right?
Because most people that run like that, she ain't no regular smoker.
She's not a regular smoker, exactly. So
but that don't mean that that's her first time ever smoking. You don't start smoking something for the very first time under those circumstances, in my opinion.
But it was more than 30 days prior to that race that she had smoked it.
But they tested her after the race.
Right.
So that means that if you know your race is 30 days down the road, you better not smoke for 30 days leading up to it.
But she has been running, not her last race prior to that wasn't 30 days prior to that.
Regardless, they tested her after the race.
Right. But you understand what I'm saying though? So she's been running like every week.
Okay.
She's been in the race.
But that don't mean they testing her every week.
Oh,
they testing her. See, when you go ready to qualify,
which makes it random.
You qualify in, they test you after the race.
Okay.
So gotcha. if you ran 12 races leading up to that, they may not have tested you. But then when you run the race that qualifies you, they're gonna test you after that race.
Okay, I got you.
Because you know you're gonna get tested after the race. They tell you when you're gonna get tested.
Thank you.
Even if that was the case, Curt, I understand what you're saying. She would have known that, but she's telling us she didn't smoke no marijuana, and I believe her. But when she lost her mother, she went into this almost depression, and it affected her to that degree, and she needed some comfort, and so she smoked some marijuana.
Right. I mean, I saw the race, the interview after the race.
Did you see the one she did on NBC this past week though?
No, I seen her after she did the qualifying race. They interviewed her and she ran up in the stands and hugged her grandmother. She came down.
I'm talking about,
and she talked about losing her mother.
I'm talking about 4 days later, she was on NBC in the morning with Savannah Guthrie. This is well after all the emotion have come down, and she admitted that she was wrong. She said, I understand what I did was wrong. It was not the right thing to do. And she explained that she had lost her mom and all of those intricate details about how the circumstances occurred.
Right, I understand.
Right.
And the thing about that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, after that point, she recognized the fact that what she did was wrong, and there may be some punishment to go along with it. That's a part of the consequences of all of our actions. Anything we do, there are consequences to them.
And the thing about what I want to say for another time is the people that you have around you when you're on that level. That's why they say sometimes you have to change the people that are around you.
Okay, I agree.
Yes.
But I think her medical staff knew what was going on. I think her team doctors knew what was going on.
Yes.
I don't think she just slipped up. I mean, they should have.
She didn't say she slipped up.
She
didn't say none of that. I'm telling you what she said directly. She let everybody know she had this issue when her mom passed and all that, and she just needed comfort. She didn't try to hide it. She admitted it readily. She was a very straight up young lady. I mean, smart as she could be, very well spoken, and she admitted that she made a mistake.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that, and I agree with it. So, but what I'm saying is, her team doctor should have been aware of each person's mental state and how they're getting along, and they should also be keeping them aware. And you're right, but I'm just looking back on it. We can't play the sympathy card because the sympathy card typically is the card to play. You have to play by the rules. We are supposed to be going into the Olympics with the cleanest possible, practice, because then it gets somewhat complicated, If it's not for the sport, it's not for the sport. I mean, look.
Well, no, but see, I'm gonna tell you the other side of that.
Kentucky Derby. I mean, they rubbed
The
a
other
little.
side of that is over in Europe. See, we're talking about the US IOC, United States Olympic Committee, is my understanding, and that's what the rules are here. But in Europe, the rules may be different for that Olympic team. That marijuana may not be an issue.
Wait, are you telling me that it's not the International Commission that's handling this?
I'm telling you, I'm not sure. I'm telling you, I think it's the US Olympic Committee.
See,
that is. It may not be international.
and if it's not international, that's how they can get past this.
We'll find out. Let's look this up.
Yeah. Because, I don't think you can get past it. If it's just for the US, then we still have the rules that we have to live by in the US.
Then the international can step in and say, you know what?
No, they can't. They can't override the US rules, because if that were the case, every rule that the US has could be overridden by somebody else. We want our team to look a certain way. Here's the rules and regulations if you're going to be on the American Olympic team. Would it be the same thing as, what if right now Simone Biles' mom passed and 2 weeks later she decides to smoke marijuana and she gets tested? You see what I'm saying? So we have, as a U.S. Olympic Committee, we have rules that you have to play within just for the U.S.
Okay.
All right,
Then
so
you go to.
I'm just going to do this, and then maybe we can take one or two steps and bow out. And my question to you is the rule the same for each competition? For example, I'm sure, as we've already talked about it, other sports may allow for people to smoke marijuana. The NBA, for example. I mean, you know,
Right, but we're talking about the Olympic
on the
team.
international scale.
We're talking about the Olympic team. We're just talking about the Olympic team. We're not talking about any other sports but the Olympic. Every sport, every competition within the U.S. Olympic team has the same rules.
Oh, okay.
If you're a hammer thrower, if you're a javelin thrower, if you run the hurdles or you run whatever you run, the rules for if you're an Olympic swimmer, diver are the same. Outside of that, the International Olympic Committee, there may be some differences.
Well, then my point in wrapping this up for me is, you know, we have to make sure that certain things aren't in there. And there's a lot of things that aren't in there, you know, so we have to make sure those things are out. I would support, drop the politics out of it. You know, it is what it is.
I don't see no politics.
There you go.
Because here are the rules before you start running. You play within these rules, everybody is good. You play outside of those rules, then you have some consequences to whatever action you take. I don't know how that's political. I don't see what.
I apologize for forming my opinion on this scale, since Curt's broadcasting us out on what channels there, Curt?
I mean, he could take us off live. We can keep talking. I ain't got nowhere else to be. I'm just saying, whether we're doing this or not.
Well, I think Curt was going to do his commercial.
Oh, wow. Good intro. This broadcast is brought to you by Curt Inc. Technology Company. You can find this broadcast live on YouTube on Curt Inc. And also, in a couple of days, you'll be able to listen to it live or listen to it again, the rebroadcast on all podcast platforms. Anywhere that you listen to your podcast, you can listen to this broadcast.
There you go.
And we welcome the Olympic Committee to come on next week.
We welcome the Olympic Committee to explain the rules and regulations. If anybody out there who knows the rules and regulations for the international and the U.S., please come on and let us know. Because we really like to know, because I think there could be something done for this world-class athlete to be able to perform in a race that she's best known for. I just think it's not fair.
And I will have to tell you that I think it is fair. And I love that young lady. I love how much of a woman she was. She stood up and accepted. But again, we know in everything we do, in our jobs and everywhere else, there's rules and regulations we have to live within. And if you break them, then there are consequences. They may be good consequences or bad, but whatever they are, we have to accept those responsibilities because we're the ones that did the act. Period.
Well, she could have went and said it wasn't her who took the test. You got the video of me going into the
No, she couldn't. She
room,
can't say none of
taking that
Kurt.
test.
Kurt, she can't say no. Kurt, you want to get into conspiracy? She can't go and say she took somebody else took the test. She can't say none of that because when they test them, they're there with them to make sure that the person that's peeing in the cup is the person that they're testing. They label it. You have to initial it. There's so many things to making sure that they got the right person. Kirk, you just trying to interject something that's not there.
How do I get a job of being one of those days? Because
I
they
don't
are
know how you
always
get
there. They're always there. Is that an organization?
I don't know how you get that job, Kurt, and that ain't a job that I want. So I haven't investigated that job.
I want to be
But
one
come
of
on,
those
brother,
days.
let's be real about it. We know good and well ain't nobody when it took no test for her because she's trying to go to the Olympics. She want to make sure that whatever they get from her is hers because she don't want no mistake that they got somebody else's pee. She don't want that, and she admitted it. It ain't like she's running from it. She's not running from it. She told you straight out, I made a mistake. Now, we all know that sometimes we make mistakes in life. We do. It's not that we want to, but we do. But every single time we make a mistake, no matter what the circumstances are, we have to live with the consequences of that mistake. We don't have no choice. If it's a good consequence or a bad consequence, we have to accept those consequences because we made the mistake.
Athletes are treated differently.
But why?
Because they get away with stuff.
No, not in this situation.
Grade,
out there in the world, they might get away with it. But when it comes to preparing for the Olympics, and here we see this all the time within this structure of the Olympics. Now, the best thing to me would be change the rule. So but right now, until we change the rules, we have to live within the rules.
And it doesn't matter that her name is Sha'Carri with an apostrophe in it.
Got nothing to do with that. It's that Sha'Carri, play by the rules. If you don't, it's okay if you don't, but you got to suffer the consequences. You know, you have to take whatever comes your way once whatever the rules are. It may be a bad rule. I'm not saying that's a good rule. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get it twisted. The book is not saying that it is a good rule and that the rule ought to stand in place. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we could change the rules, but until we change the rules, we have to live within the rules that we have.
Somebody put something in the comments who's listening to this and say, if the name wasn't Sha'Carri and the last name Richardson, could this been swept under the carpet and the people who did the testing and was available had a conversation with the U.S. Olympic officials and said, look, this is what's going on. Here's the truth, but do we want anybody to know the truth? Because this person is representing us in the U.S. to bring home a gold. Can we table this until another time? Did they have to announce it? Could it not have been announced and then you know what? We know what you did. You know what you did, but here's how we're going to play this and move forward.
Well, the only concern I have with that whole circumstance is, one, it's a conspiracy theory, and two, it doesn't address the other athletes that have trained, did the right thing, and didn't break the rules.
So she's okay. We don't know who was all there.
And my comment is general life. If it's swept under the rug, eventually the rug gets picked up.
Yes, but after the Olympics, pick it up. Shake it out.
It's going to come out.
It's going to come out. Yeah. Put the rug over.
Do you know, Curtis? Don't you think it would be worse if they swept it under the rug and it came out after the Olympics? Don't you think the publicity and everything would be much worse than it is now?
You know, I'd say no, because then it's on the Olympic committee who could take the brunt and spin that doctor.
I'm with you. And the Olympic committee is saying, we have been around way before Sha'Carri came, and we'll be here after she is, and we're not slipping none under the rug for this one athlete. Why would we?
Just because we may have done it in the past, I mean, we're going to do it for this.
Well, I don't know. You could say we may have done it in the past. Again, that's another conspiracy theory. Yeah, they may have done this. What if they may not have done it in the past, though?
What if they have done it in the past?
Okay. But right now, we're in a situation where they didn't do it this time. They didn't sweep it under the rug this time. They publicized that she failed a drug test and she's going to have a 1-month suspension. That's what her punishment is. That's what the consequences are of her actions. Is a 1-month suspension. Now, had this happened 2 months ago, she would still get the 1 month and could still train for the Olympics. It's just that it happened right before the Olympics, and that 1 month will go into the Olympics.
Any final words, Lorna? You want to take us out?
Well, no, not. I just add to this. This is a sad circumstance. I don't think that this close any athletes should get injured or be enhancing or doing anything. It is what it is today. I have to side with let's not let other athletes continue to do something.
Straight out of the book is open.
Well, from my perspective, this has been lively. It's been good. As I said before, you know, I'm a rules guy. I think this in case the rules ought to probably be changed because our society has changed. Marijuana is legal. Well, she smoked it she was in a legal state. So she didn't break any laws. She just broke some rules according to the committee, the Olympic Committee. So I do believe that, you know, we ought to make some changes in the rules. But until that time, all the athletes have to live within those rules because there's a whole other group of athletes that train their butt off that didn't break the rules that we're just dismissing completely. They're saying, wait a minute, if we're going to let those of us that break the rules still compete, hell, I could have broke the rules if I knew I could still compete. So we're discounting those in all the years that they've been working to try to get here. We're just, because of one athlete, we're just discarding all of them, in my opinion.
And I would say, well, if you were number one, we might consider that. If not,
I don't care if I was what if I was number 4 and now number 1 is gone, now I'm number 3. I got a chance to go to the Olympics and finish 3rd. So what if I'm number 4 and you let number 1 go because she broke the rules?
Who finished 3rd last year? Who not last year, but who finished 3rd behind Usain Bolt?
Have no clue.
Exactly. So it really
right, but he got to run. He got to run. If you keep her in, number 4 don't even get to run and compete because they finished 4th. But the only reason number 1 got that is because she broke the rules. Curt, she can't break the rules and keep her position.
That's not the only reason why she got up there, though.
Let's give a shout out to the Wichita Shockers because most of this conversation is shocking.
Ouch.
I know that was a cheap one-liner, but we've gone through every sort of sport there is. Drug enhancement is out. Anything about it is out, and I'm shocked that we're even still talking about it.
Really? Why?
Because it is what it is. You can't, like you've been saying, and I agree with you 100%. In the book, you can't open the book up so wide, and because there's rules in it that say it gives you an advantage. And I don't care if you're a horse running the Kentucky Derby.
They're only rules. They're only rules. They're only rules. And
then you change the rules. Then, Curt, if the rule is not a good rule, you change it. You know what I mean? You don't break the rules.
I'm gonna make a phone call. I'm gonna make a phone call and get Sha'Carri back in the 100.
Curt, if you do that, brother, if you make a phone call and get her back in the 100, brother, I'm on your side for whatever you got going on. Now you got to be able to prove to me it was your phone call that got her back in.
I thought it was gonna be more into it. I thought you was about to offer me something there.
I can offer you whatever because I know ain't no phone call from Curt that's gonna get her back in. So what do you want me to offer you? I offer you $1 million if you make a call to get her back in.
You heard that here live.
Heard that here live.
Robert gonna put $1 million.
$1 million.
Curt, you should have bet. You should have just bet on Milwaukee $1 million if you was going to bet.
He got to prove to Ralph that he made a phone call, and the reason that they reinstated her was because of his phone call before he get the $1 million.
That's not how it works.
Give him $1 million.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, it is. If you're gonna get my $1 million, it is.
In a world like that, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. If I'm going to give you, I'm the one that's making the offer.
You can't tie nothing to nothing.
The stipulations on how I'm going to spend my money.
You can't tie nothing to nothing.
His rule, and you must be smoking marijuana if you think he's changing his rules on his $1 million. Ain't no way going to talk. Yeah, right.
That's right. That's right. If I'm putting up the $1 million, I get the right. It's the golden rule. Whoever got the goal makes the rule. And my rule is, you got to be able to prove to me that you made a phone call, and the reason they reinstated her was because your phone call.
And that rule can't be broke by another phone call. And you know, he done figured it out. You ain't gonna win that one. Don't even worry about that, Curt.
And now, hey, straight out of DC, the thing is, not only is he not going to win it, I don't have $1 million.
All right.
There's
Stay tuned.
835 other athletes in there. This one messed up, you know?
Yeah,
So-
she made a mistake. It was a mistake, and as I said, she was very sweet, very honest about it, very upfront young lady. But
Sha'Carri.
somewhere along the line, she also has to learn, because at some point she may have children, that there are rules that we have to abide by. There are rules so she
you
can
can
now
learn those
say
rules
she
for
can
400
draw on
years.
this and say, let me tell you what happened to mommy years ago when I didn't break when I broke the rules.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she'll have that to draw on the rest of her life with her children or anyone else that she comes in contact with, that hey, there are certain things we have to adhere to in life.
Yep.
You know, go 85 miles an hour down here, you know, like you're on the Autobahn.
Yep. They've been teaching us these rules for over 400 years. The book is open. Take us on out of here.
All right, brothers and sisters, we love you all. Have a great holiday. The book has been open, but this has been Sports Talk with Attitude, and we're here for you anytime. Shoot us back some messages, give us some subjects to talk about, and we'll explore them to the end.
Until next time.
And until next time, the book is open.
Straight out of DC, baby.
And Curt Tech, of all places. Thank you, Curt. We appreciate you, brother. Be safe. Much love to you, brothers.